everybody, my name is RoboRyb and welcome back to Yono. So we are going to the elephant realm, I think. Philosophers have argued for centuries over the elephant's realm, what the elephant realm actually is, which ties us to the question of how elephants themselves relate to the natural world. I do not purport to have the answers, I am but a humble monk. But I have succeeded in repairing this ancient elephant gate, so at least the port of the elephant realm is once again open. Do we want to go down here and do this? Do we want to read the books? I see you've lost letters. Let's piece things together. Man, we can finish this story, and we can probably finish both stories, huh? So, let's see. What happened to this? Naga went to stop it, but they start fighting anyway. Elephant Naga began to run towards the plain of Pali, where the battle was to commence. She ran as fast as the wind and thunder, but she was too late. The Battle of Twins Generals, the greatest battle in recorded history, had already started. Brother fought brother, kin fought kin, devastation was told. The bodies of the fallen piled up into barricades, which the remaining warrior would climb and keep fighting. The ground was no longer visible under a layer of corpses. General Kurvara and General Padava met face to face in battle. Duke of the Anvil against Lord of the Foxes. The two twins were so equal in strength and skill that Kurvara trusted his lance, and so did Padava, and the generals pierced each other's armors in the same breath. They died together, just as they'd been born together. Well, that's rough. Naga and Thunder Garden, page 4. The elephant Naga arrived on the battlefield. Not a single soldier was still standing. The devastation was total, and Naga wept over the massacre. The corpse of the fallen lay strewed across the field like poppy seeds. Naga wandered the plains of Pali for many days, and she watched over the dead bodies as they sank down to the damp garden. She chased away crows and scavenged as she tended to the dead. Her tears fell on the soil. It was not until many, many years later that the first corpse sprouted new life. Out of the mass grave grew the first bone right, brought back to life by Naga's blessing. The plain of Pali would continue to sprout the living dead as it does this day, and would henceforth be known as the sacred cemetery, the Thunder Garden. Interesting. So we never bought this one. Oma and the Wave. It's a different one. Once upon a time, there was an elephant whose name was Oma. Oma was a bit shy, and he preferred to stay by himself. The elephant Oma built for himself a very high tower, on top of which he would sit and watch the sea and land of the sky. To the people around, Oma's tower would bring fruit and pleasant incense to the elephant and ask him questions about the weather and what else he could spy from so high. But Oma would rarely reply. He enjoyed his solitude. He didn't want the villagers to come and bother him all the time. In time, the villagers stopped visiting, and Oma was happy. One day, the elephant Oma sat atop the tower. He felt a change in the wind and shiver in the earth. He looked out at the open sea and saw there rising the white foam of an enormous wave. Elephant knew that the wave would flood the land, and he hurriedly climbed down from a tower to warn the people of the village. The giant wave was coming, and it would destroy all the houses and all the farms. Oma told the villagers about the approaching wave, but they did not believe him. The villagers did not understand why the elephant, who hardly ever would give them news, suddenly wanted them to all listen. And besides, the wave of the horizon was not visible from the ground yet, and Oma alone had been able to see it from the tower. His warnings were all ignored, and Oma realized that even if the people started moving up the hill to safety, they would not be able to get far enough before the wave hit. Oma understood he had to do something. Elephant Oma walked down to the coastline and saw the wave approaching. He took a deep, deep breath and gathered all his massive strength. Oma swung his mighty trunk, and he stomped the ground so hard. And in the great shuffle, the very mountains began to crumble and move. The chain of the mountains crawled down into the sea, and the seafloor began to rise, and a whole new landmass began to form in the seas. The crescent moon-shaped tongue of land stretched as a wall around the shores where the villagers lived, shielding them from harm. And so when the giant waves finally rolled in, it broke up the rocky cliffs to Oma's new peninsula. The people of the village were saved. The night, the people of the villagers gathered in a splendid celebration. They had all seen the wave crash against the blockade of Elephant Oma had created. The village elders apologized to Oma for not having believed in him, and Oma decided to build a ladder to the top of his tower so that people could visit him from time to time. He only built a very narrow ladder, however, so that only the children would be small enough to climb it up and down. Oma didn't want to be bothered by the affairs and worries of grown-ups. From that day forward, children of the village would run back and forth, bring messages from the people and the old elephant. The land tongue Oma created exists even to this day. Interesting. Gaia's sonnet. So there, we got all 4 of those bought. Gaia's sonnet final couplet. Come walk with me, the gaze upon the stars, spoke Gaia, and her tusk of ivory white. The principles below this world is ours are clear as day as soon as comes the night. In circular paths and spheres of heaven glide, the void of cosmos planet circumfuse. Mathematics is what inside is hid. proportion, ratio, and hypotenuse. And in the ratio lives a merry tune. We find it if we measure carefully. Between my ivory tusks a string is strewn and plucked to vibrate in fine harmony. Let's all dance when you take a string and thump it. I'll intervene a new device, the trumpet. Okay. All right. The dialogues of Ronan. Princess Vanya, daughter of the emperor, sought out to the elephant Ronan one night in the elder tree grove just outside the city. When he used to sit and gaze in the stars where she saw them, she spoke thus. Vanya, elephant Ronan who sat in the elder tree grove, I am the seventh of the emperor's daughter, and as such there are no noble princes left in any of the neighboring realms for me to marry when I come of age. All my sisters will have lives of luxury and plenty, all but me, who I am the youngest. I have sought you out, great elephant, in hopes that you can offer me advice. My dear child, I am delighted to meet you, but why would you say a life of luxury and plenty is less life worth living? Would a life of toil and hardship be less desirable? Vanya, all living creatures shun pain. This is the evident. I seek the calm and serenity that comes from the life free from disturbance and suffering. Surely pleasure is the opposite of suffering and should thus be aspired to, just as pain should be shunned. But the pleasure will fade away as soon as it is over, as will the pain, as will all sensation. You cannot remember that you felt pain yesterday, but you cannot feel the same pain again. The same is true for pleasure. I agree. This is why one should not chase after immediate pleasures, but rather live a life where pleasure is secured in the future as well. One might even forego immediate pleasures if one is certain doing so will save one from a future pain. Maybe a good life is not so much about what you feel, but about what you do. The present is ever changing, and is so the future. The past, on the other hand, cannot be altered. Thus, the pleasurable sensation you feel now might feel in the future are fleeting and impermanent. But the story of your actions will remain forever true in the past. This is your legacy, your memory, your tale. So I should focus on the actions I make rather than pleasures I seek and receive. But the seeking of pleasure will itself be an action. But is the purpose of the search the pleasure or the seeking? Contrary-wise, then, the possession of a good story itself is pleasurable. I can live in the life of actions and stories, but happiness I get out of life is the same kind of pleasure my sisters will receive in their decorated halls, their banquet, and their bedchambers. Then maybe are we talking about the same thing? After all, the pleasures of action, the pleasure of green memories and stories can rival the pleasures of material luxury. Then perhaps the circumstances of your physical body is not the only thing that can lead to your happiness. Are you saying that I could devote myself to actions, to study and research, to charity work, to art and architecture, to adventure and discovery, and that this can be as rewarding as life of pleasure? Are you in fact saying that this is what would truly be a happy life? I don't know what a happy life is. This is why I sit here, looking at the stars and waiting for people to come and talk to me and tell me of your thoughts. You have given me much joy this evening and much to think about, and suppose sitting still can also be an action if you do it on purpose. So that's the whole thing about it's not the destination, it's the journey, huh? I mean, we could buy all these too. My goodness. The myth of Yen and Yurik. He follows the myth of Yurik, such as has been passed down through the generations. Son of Porcupine was the greatest hunter in the land, and his bow was feared by all animals. He led a group of hunters who would return each night with food for the tribe, but the land was empty and barren. All animals had fled or been killed. Son of Porcupine said to Yen the elephant, I am the greatest hunter in this land, and there are many hunters, but the land is barren and empty of life. We can no longer hunt for food to feed our tribe. We need a new source of food. The elephant Yen said to Son of Porcupine, you have started on a path at the end of which you will die. Nonetheless, I shall aid in whatever way I can. For the thought of your dead, your people become stronger and more numerous than ever before. Take these seeds and bury them in the earth. Then wait for 3 days and return to the same spot. The Son of Porcupine took the seeds and buried them deep. He and the other hunters waited for 3 days. In the morning of the third day, they found that the whole valley had turned to a resplendent field of grain. There was more food in one place than they'd ever seen before. Son of Porcupine and his tribe began to harvest the grain, and more tribes arrived from near and far to help with the harvest and share the food. They stopped traveling around in search of food and instead built their huts in a valley along the river. And on the 7th day, Son of Porcupine became a king. Well, the 12th day, other people arrived in the valley, and they did not come for the food. They sought the source of the food, which they perceived the power of the king, Son of Porcupine. The invaders were envious of his power and wanted to seize it. Son of Porcupine said to Yen the elephant, I am the king of the valley, and these are my people, but other people desire my power and they envy to seek to destroy what I've created. We can no longer travel to avoid fights because our homes and lives are dependent on these fields and gain. The elephant Yen replied, I warned you that suffering would come to you, Son of Porcupine, but on the other side of the suffering lies strength. Take these rocks and place them in a circle around the valley, then wait for 3 days. The son of Porcupine placed the rocks in a circle around the valley and waited 3 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, the valley and all the huts of the house had been surrounded by a sturdy stone wall and had become a city. The city was called Uruk? The city was called Uruk, and on the 15th day, the hunters became warriors. The invaders lined up outside the walls of Uruk, ready to do battle. Son of Porcupine stood atop the city wall with his fearsome bow, forced to protect a livelihood that could not be moved. A livelihood that had transformed from sustenance into wealth and thus attracted envy. A spear thrown by an envious invader sailed through the air. It was a spear of hatred and greed, seeking the wealth hidden inside the city. And the spear of hatred found its way into the heart of Son of Porcupine, who fell from his position on the wall. The blood of his veins flowed forth and surrounded the city of the water like a moat, and the invaders were held off. The people of the city of Rook lived lives of richness and resplendence. I like that like mythological like take on that one. His blood made a moat. On Agra. My name is RoboRyb of Zerno, and I've devoted my life to the study of elephant lore. A few generations before my birth was heir of elephant Gaia, and we are now patiently waiting the next elephant, whoever it may be. In the earliest of human history, mankind lived as a hunter-gatherer and moved across the large areas of wilderness and subsistence on which food they had managed to hunt down or pluck from trees and banishes. We called this period of Stone Age because this is where their mankind had started, using metal tools, and crafted their utensils out of stone. It would not be until much later, the era of Elephant Yen, that humans began living in cities, cultivating the land, and using metal tools. This is the time of Elephant Agra, the All-Mother, the very first elephant we know of. She came to aid mankind and live amongst them as a guide and mentor. We had absolutely no written record of this age. Indeed, it seemed humans had not developed the art of writing at this point. Instead, we must rely exclusively on the oral tradition and what few archaeological artifacts we managed to find, such as cave paintings and small trinkets carved in stones. Thus, we know very little about the life and deeds of Elephant Agra. She seems to have been recognized as some form of deity or supernatural spirit. She seems to have covered an astounding distance by foot as she traveled across the world, and often followed by various tribes or communities and early humans. Evidence suggests that it was Agra the All-Mother who first taught mankind how to create and use fire. Her pilgrim caravan across the continent may in large fact have been used to spread their archaic technology to far-flung tribes and communities. As we see, the relationship between human and elephant goes back for a long time. One would even be tempted to suggest that without elephants taking an interest in the development of flourishing, it is unlikely that we would ever have been able to rise to the level of cultural and civilization sophistication that we see today. We may have been forever destined to roam the earth and package, eating berries, roots, and nuts, and freezing the cold winters. Both for the gift of fire and for the beginning of a long chain of future elephants, we have a lot to thankful for All-Mother for. It must be noted, however, that there have been several elephants before Agra. There have been elephants in this world before humankind even existed. It's possible for us to know. So is that it? I've finished the book. Ah, I see you've lost some letters for me. Let's see if there's something. Alright, I was hoping I would get something out of that, but that's kind of cool little stories they made. Took a while, so sorry for the wait, I suppose. The Almighty elephants are old. They're waiting through beyond this gate, Yono. You can visit them now. The Almighty elephants are old and waiting beyond this gate. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go. Ooh, the elephant realm. This is not what I expected on this side. Whoa, I wanted to thank you, Yono, for believing in me when nobody else... That's Kai? What? I wanted to thank you, Yono, for believing in me when nobody else would. I guess, would he have a bigger voice? I don't know. Okay. Hopefully, I've grown out of the awkwardness of my youth and stand here ready to serve as a spiritual exemplar in this realm. I will stand tall and confident like Sandara. The world once again has an elephant, and uncertainty and superstition could give way to order and harmony. Man, you got like some Lady Gaga stuff going. Look at me, Yono. I'm Queen Sandara now, fancy dress and everything. There'll be no more somersaulting in this thing. But don't worry, I'll find a way to shake things up. I have centuries-long feudal regime to break. I'm going to create a council with representatives from all three purple peoples. Sunguard and the Free Haven will become independent political units joined together in a great alliance. And I'll be the last ruler to inherit their position. My successor will be chosen according to some sort of system like that, which the Menkai has developed. I will have to act outside my own self-interest and be as selfless as Kai. I'll turn all the old power structures on their head. This will be the most historic practical joke I've ever pulled off. Okay. Is this the sacred realm? Can I join the sage elephants? Is that an elephant with like 40 legs? It's several. Oh, they're creeping me out a little bit. Elephant Yono. Elephant Ronan? You've traveled the earth above for some time now. What has that been like for you, Yono the Awakener? They all want me to save the world, but I don't know how. I don't know if the Sun Guardian will deteriorate again over time. I think I managed to avert an armed conflict in Freehaven, but that just meant upholding the statu quo and postponing Makai independence. And even then, the humans turned against me. The world is so big and complicated, but the inhabitants seem to want me to solve all issues overnight. All the while, the only tasks I can perform with confidence are helping people water their plants and find their lost belongings. Tell me, Elephant Ronan, how can I ever carry the responsibility for the whole world? It's too much for me. You're young, Yono. You're but a small child. You will grow old and mighty over the eons, and your responsibilities grow alongside. Humankind will come and go, wars will be waged, and lives lost. But the power of the celestial elephant's life inside will live on, and the Earth will stay in its course through the cosmos. In a few hundred years, when you are big and strong, you will return here, and you will be ready to shoulder your task. But for now, Yono, you are but a small child. And for now, you are free to go out and play. Go out and play. Go on. Be a baby. Was that it? Well, I thought that was super cute. I saw lots of comments about this game being like a baby Zelda and stuff on Steam when I was looking it up. And I don't agree. I mean, obviously combat is, you know, less than intense, but the puzzles at times are kind of ridiculous, but it's awesome. I loved it. Look how adorable it is. Special thanks to Alexander Sana Stugan. I you know, kind of wish I'd explored a little bit more to check things out. Thank you for playing. Thanks for making it. I loved it. I wish I explored the world a little bit more. There was a lot of side quests that I did not come close to finishing, but that's okay. But that's it. That's Yono and the Celestial Elephants. I think I did see there was a Switch release of this game. It had a very long title, so I don't know if it's just like director's cut or something. But yeah, it's on Steam, fairly cheap. I think it's like 15 bucks, 10 bucks, something like that. And like I said, it's on the Switch. So if you want to check it out yourselves, you can. But hey, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.